Unraveling Bronze Age Thread Secrets. Textiles reveal highly advanced and complex process that was used about 2000 BC. A new study published this week in the journal Archaeological and Anthropological Sciences identifies that the earliest plant fiber technology for making thread in early Bronze Age Britain and across Europe and even the Near East was splicing, not spinning. In splicing, strips of plant fibers such as flax, nettle, lime tree, and other species are joined in individually and often after being stripped from their plant stalk directly and without or with only minimal retting, the process of introducing moisture to soften the fibers. Splicing technology. According to lead author Dr. Margarita Gleba, researcher at the MacDonald Institute for Archaeological Research at the University of Cambridge in England, quote, splicing technology is fundamentally different from draft spinning. The identification of splicing in these early Bronze Age and later textiles marks a major turning point in scholarship. The switch from splicing, the original plant-based bast fiber technology, to draft spinning took place much later than previously assumed, she said. Splicing has previously been identified in pre-dynastic Egyptian and Neolithic Swiss textiles, but the new study showed that this particular type of thread-making technology may have been ubiquitous across the Old World during prehistory. Ancient Egyptian techniques used in Britain. Well, we even know that the first queen of Scotland, they say, was the daughter of a pharaoh, and her name was Scotia. So this is what was being stated here is obviously not a surprise. Ancient Egyptian techniques used in Britain. Ancient textiles found near Cambridge reveal Bronze Age Britons used an Egyptian thread-making technique to weave plant fibers. Quote, the technological innovation of draft spinning plant bast fibers, a process in which retting and well-processed fibers are drawn out from a mass of fluffed-up fibers, usually arranged on a distaff and twisted continuously using a rotated spindle, appears to coincide with urbanization and population growth, as well as increased human mobility across the Mediterranean during the first half of the first millennium BC. Such movements required many more and larger and faster ships, all of which largely relied on wind power and therefore their sails. Retting and draft spinning technology would have allowed faster processing of larger quantities of plant materials and the production of sailcloth, end quote. Among the finds analyzed for this study are charred textile fragments from Barrow in Cambridgeshire, dated to the early Bronze Age, that's 1887 to 1696 BC. The site was excavated by the Cambridge Archaeological Unit. Dr. Susanna Harris of the University of Glasgow, co-author of the paper, an expert in British Bronze Age textile, notes, quote, we can now demonstrate that this technology was also present in Britain. It's exciting because we think the past is familiar, but this shows life was quite different in the Bronze Age. Sites like Overbarrow in Cambridgeshire contained a burial with remains of stacked textiles, which were prepared using strips of plant fiber spliced into yarns and then woven into textiles. It had always been assumed that textiles were made following well-known historical practices of fiber processing and draft spinning, but we can now show people were dealing with plants rather differently, possibly using nettles or flax plants to make these beautiful woven textiles. This is from the University of Cambridge under CC Common License, and it's on ancient origins.